3977. Or if that line is busy, you can try 1-800-525-0127.
This message is a public service announcement of Rainier Avenue Radio.org.
Hey y'all, how you doing? This is that guy Curtis from R&R Live Jam Sessions. I want y'all to tap in with me every Wednesday at 5 o'clock Pacific Standard Time right here on Rainier Avenue Radio.org. R&R Live Jam Sessions, baby. Holla.
This is the news on Rainier Avenue Radio.
San Jose's game against Vegas has been postponed after a Sharks player entered the NHL's COVID protocol. Per ESPN, the 36th NHL game this season this is the 36th NHL game this season to be postponed for virus-related issues in 40th County, the Texas snowstorm that affected Dallas. The Sharks' facilities have been closed. The team canceled practice but said the decision and the postponement, quote, was made out of an abundance of caution. The NHL had a season-low 8 players on its COVID protocol list, 5 of them from Philadelphia. That's down from a season high of 59. The Calgary Flames and Montreal Canadiens remained perfect so far this season, as neither team has had a player put on the list. The St. Louis Blues and Toronto Maple Leafs have had a player added to the COVID list, bringing the total number of players who have spent at least one day on it to 126.
And that's your news on Rainier Avenue Radio.
You're listening to Rainier Avenue Radio.world.
Well, man, let it play. Let the music play on, play on, play on. That's right. This is Seattle Sports Weekly. I'm Mazvita Maraire. I mean, really, what a better way to, midday to listen to some sports and start out with Bob Marley's Exodus. Yeah, man, in a righteous rub-a-dub style we are. Yeah, man, that's what we do. And actually, one of the original Wailers passed away last week. Just want to shout that out. So, Bunny, and so the Wailer family lost, or the musician, the international music family, suffered a loss. But if I know them Jamaican, man, he up there playing music and with the spliffs. So, so be it. And with that, here we are. This is what we do. So we got a lot going on today. We always got a lot going on, but today it's in a good way. I'm Mazvita Maraire. And speaking of a good thing, what's going on, Lars Hanson of the Dawg Report?
Mars, how are you doing, man? That's as much roster as I'm going to try to attempt.
So you got to go higher. Yeah, man. Yeah, man. Nah,
man. Yeah, man.
Yeah, almost through your nose, like right on. You know what? You keep working on that, and let's have you kind of, you know what I'm saying? We will, I'm sure by the end of the year, you'll be talking like a Rastafarian with them cats and Josie and me down by the poolside, man.
I love it.
Yeah, I've been working, and I got to work on mine again. But the one I like is the British accent. Do you know my theory is actually, and of course, D Money, hey, your ass clap, man, you bum a clap, man. Me get him after the show, man. He writing stuff on there. Me get him after the show. So I will. So anyways, my Siri is set to the British accent. You know that?
Oh, really? No.
Yeah, you can do that. You can change the languages to male, female, whatever you want.
That's honestly a good thing because Siri's annoying. Just having that bare monotone. You got to mix it up. British would be interesting. That'd be an interesting one to have, like car directions on, getting a British accent, getting a British man giving you directions, that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm, absolutely, and just being from Zimbabwe and all that, I was closer. I haven't found a Zimbabwean Siri yet, so
maybe you should be the voice of it. Maybe you should be the voice of Zimbabwe Siri.
Yeah, I doubt anybody would pick that up. So they'll listen to our show. This
There we go. There we
whatever
go.
we do. So we'll kind of. I was gonna go with the stick with what you know, but Evarist Akujobi will be on later on Beyond the Arc to talk about NBA and why that just came in mind was stick to sports. We'll talk about the dream. I have a dream. And the Atlanta Dreams. So how's that working out, right?
Yeah, there you go. Hey, I see that. I like you. I like
You
that.
see, you like that whole kind of. So we'll hear more of that. But coming up, dude, we got Maya Mendoza-Exstrom from the Seattle Sounders, just to talk about all the stuff they've been doing in terms of the diversity inclusion stuff. And actually, the Sounders have actually gone deeper. And I might repeat this when she gets on, but in terms of, we talk about it all the time, right? The getting beyond the food and festival part of it. You know what I mean? Like, oh yeah, it's Black History Month. Let's go have some chicken at Ezel's. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, okay. Now that it's June, where are you at? All that stuff. So they've gone a little deeper. Not a little. They've actually gone real deep. And she'll go into kind of the stuff that they, that they're doing, the intentionality of the structure that's there. So we'll hear a lot more of that. Let me ask. So they've gone a little bit deeper into that. And what we'll also do when, they do some cool stuff. I'm going to let her, kind of go with that. And then my other point is, do you know, when she gets here, do you know that it's Women's History Month?
Yes, I do. I saw that because I know that. Well, one, because the Pac-12, I think, put out a tweet, or it was the Pac-12 or UW, where it was Jen Cohen talking about this Women's History Month, what does it mean to be a woman in a certain position, and not just, doing kind of not the PR side of it, but that's how I got cued into it. And actually, it made me think back to the USC UW game, and I have a video of Will Harris giving a hug to Jen Cohen on the sideline after they were about to win the game. And I was like, man, the time and people used to be able to do that, and you can't take that for granted now. So it's just a small little circle of, I knew it was Women's History Month, and but much like Black History Month, it's not just 1 month. It should never just be 1 month. It should be, what are you doing in April about it? What are you doing in May about it? It shouldn't just be, hey, let's have 20 events in March about women and women empowerment, and then the other 11 months we'll just be like, forget about it.
Now, it started out as a week.
Now we go to a month, and then now we eventually build into a summer, and then we build into a year, and then it becomes eventually just common knowledge that women are just as valuable as men.
Well, yes. And yeah, good for you. Well done.
Let me make that very clear.
Yeah, okay. The point is that when you have these events, right, and Black History Month, Women's History Month, it's really to bring awareness so that you can continue, right? So
much like mental health awareness, where there's Mental Health Week and there's Mental Health Month, and they're two different actual months of the calendar. One's in May and one's in October.
Good for you. All right, so I'm going to read a quote, right? And so from the first settlers who came to our shores, from the first American Indian families who befriended them, men and women have worked together to build this nation. Too often the women were unsung, and sometimes their contributions went unnoticed. But the achievements, leadership, courage, strength, and love of the women who built America was as vital as that of the men whose names we know so well. Do you know who said that?
I'm going to feel bad for saying no. But
you should feel bad. You never feel bad because it is awareness. There's President Jimmy Carter message designing. That was from 1980 on March when he said National Women's History Week. So that was when it was just a week. So there's nothing. Yeah, it's pretty incredible. So we kind of threw a curveball, right? So the Sounders, amazing organization. We reach out. We say, hey, can let's hear about all the events that we just talked about, how they're going deeper into it. And so, Maya, as we talked about, Maya Mendoza-Exstrom is going to come on, but here's a curveball. We're actually going to honor her just for a moment, because people like her, let's bring her on. People like Maya don't like to talk about themselves, you know what I mean? But we would be remiss if we didn't point out the fact that she is a woman of color. She is a lawyer and, in this business. And she's here to talk about all the great things that the Sounders are doing. So, D-Money, let's bring her on board. Maya, thank you so much for finding the time.
Of course. No, thanks for having me. I love talking to you, Maz. It's super fun always.
Good. Now, like I said, I don't know if you heard, but we are going to throw a curveball.
Okay.
I know how you are. You don't want to talk about yourself, but we want to honor you because it is Women History Month. Okay, so we want to acknowledge that, and if you would just take a moment or two, how a Burien gal from the South goes to, what is it, UPS, and then UW Law School, and here you are now with the Sounders. A lawyer, no doubt.
The how, man, soccer. I mean, seriously, it's why I'm here, and I feel really fortunate that the thing that I fell in love with as a kid, playing on, we'll call it dirt. I'm not sure it was dirt. Fields in Burien is allowed me to pursue a profession. So it really is soccer, and it's my parents and my dad, and being centering athletics always in our life as a way to be confident. My sister and I, as a way to express ourselves, as a way to meet people and from all different backgrounds, and now ultimately as a way to give back. So it's a life's passion from Burien to Sounders FC.
Yeah, and just for the girls, the young ladies that are listening, just what it was, the support you got. I know you mentioned a little bit about your dad and all of that, but just the importance of family and extended family, how important that is, and just what a difference that makes.
I think it's really huge. We talk a lot about, or use this word a lot, and it doesn't go without saying, representation matters. I think when I was a kid growing up, was when the first iterations of the U.S. Women's National Team were being funded, or maybe not funded, but at least convened. And when you think back to 1991 and our very first World Cup, there were four women on that team that were from the Puget Sound region, which is pretty remarkable, right? We haven't ever achieved that again, to have 4 Washingtonians representing the United States at one World Cup. And we might not, again, just with how competitive the team is, but those were my heroes. So there were women that were in our market. The very first A-licensed women's soccer coach is from here. One of the very first head referees is from here, and I just think those were the posters that were on my wall. Shannon Higgins was on my wall. I played with her younger cousin on club soccer in Burien. So I think that is what I look to and say that it was achievable. It was possible. Now I got there and had the opportunity to play OD at an elite level with Hope Solo, and realized that my path was not her path. But that foundation of sort of staying in the game and staying connected to Washington soccer, to Washington soccer roots. It's a pretty small circle still, and it's a lot of fun to run into all those folks still.
Yeah, and nobody has a greater path than Hope Solo. I just think in terms on the field and how she revolutionized the goalie position.
It's totally different.
Yeah, I think it's just, you can see it now, but back then, the way she was offensively, she was a weapon. So you not being a host solo, it's all good.
It's all good. That's right, man. I played in front of her in representing the state of Washington. She was the goalkeeper, and as a center back, it's like, God, there's not a single person I would want behind me ever. That she was one of the best, and it's funny because in club she always played forward, so I always had to mark her as a forward, and then in ODP she was always behind me, which was great. So
yeah, which makes sense because that tenacity that's needed, the execution killer instinct up front is the same. You need to go up and get the ball on a corner kick between three people and punch it out, So, now, yeah, I'll try to stay focused as we talk all good. So lastly, we'll use this as a segue. So there you are working for your dad's law firm, and then you get the call from Adrian Hanauer.
Mm-hmm.
What was that like in terms of, there's not too many women that are lawyers in the sports industry.
There are more. I would say that's the remarkable thing about soccer. When you look across the MLS, I actually think there are more women GCs than men, or close to, which is really interesting. It's a fun room of colleagues now because it is so diverse. I've known Adrian for a really long time. I was practicing with my dad at the time, but I had started the Ray Foundation with Adrian as well. Mm-hmm. We started that work really in 2011. It was formed in 2013 and then sort of has hit its legs in 2016 and beyond. We hired a real executive director to run the thing. But I'd known Adrian for a really long time. And it actually is the advice that I give to pretty much any person who is like, well, how do you network? What's the way that you network? And I have always found personally that my best relationships, the pay it forward future dividends for me personally have come through volunteering, through all of the passion projects that I've had, and through this expectation that my dad and my mom sort of imposed upon my sister and I, which is when you get to a place where you can pay it forward, you must always pay it forward. And so, we've been invested a lot in the South End, but certainly in soccer and trying to drive access to soccer. My soapbox issues are arts, sports, and public education for kids. And those are the things that get me excited and out of bed in the morning. And so it's through that and just through those connections in those rooms that Adrian and I developed probably an independent relationship. And so, I was very fortunate that when they separated operations for the Seahawks, had already been working sort of in those capacities with no actual thought that the job would open. And we were working on Rave at the time, and he said, "Why don't you come do some legal work for me too?" And my dad basically kicked me out and said, "You need to go do this." So I appreciate that. So
yeah, and it's great that the Seahawks and the Sounders split, and I mean for the greater good of the community. Because Mike Flood, who we've worked with for years over there, and all he does, and now Mario Bailey's over there. But I mean, what they do for the community in that split just enhanced the resources that are available for all the community needs that are there. So Peter Tomazawa.
Yeah.
I remember having a discussion with Peter a couple of years ago about Black History Month. It was, and he said, I think as an organization, we can do more. And it's not just him. I get that. But just, can you talk about the commitment of the organization from Peter? You talk about Adrian, but the commitment you all have to diversity inclusion as a whole.
I think we all look for silver linings at the end, in 2020. Now looking back, I guess we can look back and looking forward. And the convergence of so many of the issues that we saw in our own community, and be that even just in terms of how equity is thought about, not just the murder of George Floyd and the unrest that caused, and disruptive unrest, which is important to the conversation. But now, as we think about sort of the equity challenges of deployment of vaccines, of the fact that you have a school system that was not built for a world where the haves and have-nots of the broadband universe. And we look at these compounding effects, and we've been taking little nibbles at this through soccer. we've been, I would say, and I think we would admit this to ourselves, maybe reluctant to be so to be more coordinated and strategic at times, because quite honestly, like, we're not the experts in education policy, we're not the experts in health policy, we're not the experts in environmental policy and in fighting racism. But as we look at the role that soccer can play, we're increasingly sitting at those tables. We're increasingly being invited to sit at that table and to answer the question, as Ashley Fosberg, the executive director of RAVE, always says, is how can soccer help? And I think what last year gave us was an opportunity to look at everything in our business and organization, but our collective work and the partnerships that we have amassed, and say, you know what, we are sitting at these tables. How do we want soccer to help? And I think that's where we landed with our social justice framework. And it allowed us to call out race specifically as an arena in which we want to change some outcomes. We want to be part of that solution. We can't do it alone, but if we're sitting at those tables, how do we continue to be an advocate on this dimension of that issue of equity?
And I was lucky enough to be invited to some media thing where, Adrian was there, and, Alex and all those guys were there. Mm-hmm. And also Peter were there. And, it was just informal lunch. But what I was really struck about is something that you just said in terms of the organization. There's an acknowledgement of what's wrong, but then it's, how can we partner up with the experts, as opposed to just saying, oh, this is what's wrong, or we're going to throw some money at it. And I think that's really profound. And we saw that with the money you all gave out during the pandemic first hit, right? I mean, just things like that. And I just think when organizations are asking the question, how can we help, then it becomes an institutional shift. And the other thing I was struck by was this. Can you tell us about this intentional list you all did?
Yeah. So we have the good fortune that Laura Kleiss, who is the brainchild of the intentional list, is a good friend of the franchise, a huge soccer fan. We've worked with her in a lot of different capacities before she even walked down this road. And the intentional list, for anybody who's listening who doesn't know, is an amazing aggregator. Laura has this amazing platform, intentionalist.com, where you can go and look and find minority-owned businesses, women-owned businesses, immigrant-owned businesses, family-owned businesses. You can search by those factors, and then target where you go buy your lunch, target where you go get your nails done or your hair done. And it's grown. It's not just Seattle. It's multiple other cities in the United States, and I think actually a couple abroad now. But we partnered with her and we will continue to partner with her for the rest of this year in sort of taking a look at how do we continue to use our platform, leverage our platform to drive money, resources, and sort of shine a light on the small business owners in our BIPOC communities in our region. There we go. And so, we started with her in February, in Black History Month. We worked with her to identify regionally 10 local businesses, restaurants, and every Friday we opened a $250 tab at 2 of those restaurants every Friday for the month, and trying to drive business, I think we got some really gratifying feedback from one of them from a couple of weeks ago. And the feedback was, it increased Friday over Friday, increased their sales by 50%. And that's a drop in the bucket in terms of the overall challenges that we have in our community. But I think it's really important that if we can use the power of Sounders FC brand to basically provide promotional opportunities for small businesses, for businesses of color, then that's one thing we can do. It's an asset we can bring to the table, and they just get to be them, which is make really great food to eat. And we'll continue to partner with her. We'll partner with her this month, Women's History Month, looking at women-owned minority businesses. We'll look into May and talk about, quite frankly, the Asian community and my home turf of where I grew up as a kid in the Chinatown and the International District, that's really been dealing with the effects of of the pandemic since before it hit. When you talk about the racism and xenophobia around the Wuhan virus last January, and we were able to help a lot of those small businesses and folks through the relief fund last March, but it's been a year and we're still struggling there, and so how do we continue to support small businesses across the region, across multiple different dimensions. Again, if you look at Black-owned businesses or Asian-owned businesses or LGBTQ-owned businesses or women and immigrant-owned businesses, that all of those are part of the fabric of our community. They're some of my favorite places to eat, and we have this loud and proud fan base that we can drive to those local resources when people are hungry.
Absolutely. I mean, the Jerk Shack is one of my spots, and I've known the owners there for quite a long time. And, I'm glad you brought up the point about the international district. I was just really struck when I drove their van, went to Cow, and of course they remembered me, which is like, man, like seeing an old friend and getting a good meal, right? But it has been, I saw a lot of boarded up buildings there. So it really took a hit, did it not?
It did. I think it's been a challenge. I have the fortune to sit on the board for the Wing Luke Museum, and, we are one of the anchor institutions in the district. And it is a challenge to board windows up. It signals something, and we collaborate on a number of mural projects. Some of those murals are still pretty fabulous. And, I think the district itself is looking at what we can do to open back up now. We're in phase 2. We're very hopeful the governor is going to get to a point where phase 3 is not only on the horizon, it's contemplated. As our museum is opening up this week again. And so as we look ahead, how do we support that opening and bring people back into the neighborhood? We're all still going to do takeout probably. And how do we make sure that on a match day, when we're back playing soccer, that someone who used to go to Cow before they came to a Sounders FC match, even if they can't all join us in the stadium this year, can still do that ritual? How do we use, again, our platform to the benefit of the district?
Man, their secret weapon is the lamb that they have there. And everybody goes with the barbecue, but they got some lamb that's just, and of course, the work with the African American Museum. I mean, giving out books to kids of color and the balls, but just how impactful was that?
Well, it's ongoing. I mean, I think that's the other thing, one of the unsung aspects of how we've worked as Sounders FC for many, many years is that we've tried not to be a drop in a single event and move on. We've tried to make some strategic partnerships so that we can have ongoing relationships. And I think this is one of those opportunities for us. We realized that we did not have a relationship with one of the experts in our community in NAMM. We realized that, and we reached out to them last fall and just said, look, again, how can we help? We have a relationship with other, philanthropic and museums in Seattle. We don't have a relationship with you. And so was able to sort of invite Lanisha DeBartoleta, who's their just dynamic, amazing executive director, to come speak to our staff as the expert at the end of last year as part of our first internal social justice expert sessions. We've been doing them monthly, centering sort of BIPOC leaders and specifically Black leaders on different issues to come talk to our staff. And she and the executive director of the Wing were our first 2 speakers to sort of just level set on the history of race for our staff in this region. But that then precipitated a conversation of what are you guys doing in some of these spaces? And they talked to us about their book program. And, I'm maybe not wearing my Sounders FC hat, but wearing my youth education advocacy hat here, will be the first one to stand up and say that the curriculum in Washington State is not representative of the entire history of the state of Washington and every person who's lived here. It is woefully inadequate when you start talking about specifically in the Asian American community, how Japanese internment is taught, right? That, I grew up going to the Puyallup Fair as a really exciting event, that the Japanese neighbors of my Filipino family in Algona don't go to the fairgrounds. And why is that? And, those are the kinds of conversations that really taught in school. So I'm the first person to stand up and say that I personally am an advocate for overhauling our curriculum. But having said that, this is something that NAM is able to do. They are able to source and provide age appropriate books from pre-K through high school that center Black characters, that center Black authors. And when we look at that representation that matters, seeing a Black character that is a superhero is very important. And we attempt to do the same thing at the Wing, right? If you go to the Wing bookstore, it's one of my favorite. These are two of my favorite gift shops in the city because of the quality of the curation of things you're already going to buy for your kids and being able to provide that. So Books and Balls was a neat idea because we again, our authentic contribution is soccer, and we think every kid should also have a ball so they can be physically active. And we were able to pilot it at Christmas time, right before Christmas. We're able to do another event collaboratively on Martin Luther King Jr. Day. And then we're able to partner on multiple locations in Black History Month. And you'll see us continuing to partner with NAM in this way and trying to make sure that we have a continuing relationship.
Man, so we got to go. We just couldn't
so much. Yeah.
No, there is so much. And so, but there is something, just historically about having kids of color read. Because if you remember in the plantation and the voting and everything that's going on now, it was literacy thing. There's this whole piece before we even get to the high school, and that curriculum, that ability to read is something intertwined in all the minority communities and any organization that can move that, that can create transformation in that realm, like the Seattle Sounders are doing, are absolutely doing incredible stuff. And, and I know you guys today, you just, the
sports at the NBA program. Yep.
You guys. Hey, so again, it's ongoing, and it seems like it's just refueling you all, and it's energizing the work as opposed to some marathon that's running. So Maya, thank you so much for coming on, and we'll hope to have you soon. So that's Maya Mendoza-Exstrom. She's an advocate for social injustice in all the communities, but her title, I'd be remiss, is Senior Vice President of Legal and External Affairs. So thank you for all the work and who you are and who the Seattle Sounders are, Maya. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Moz. Good to see you.
All right. Talk to you soon. All right. We're going to go on break, and we will come back at the half hour. Maya. Yeah. You see that, Lars? That's amazing people, amazing organization. So I better hold on because D Money's going to write something and that's not good. So let's go on break. I'm Mazvita Maraire. Over there is Lars Hanson of the Dawg Report. This is Seattle Sports Weekly. This is Rainier Avenue Radio .world. We're gaining steam. And we're going to come back with Beyond the Arc with Evarist Akujobi. All right, let's break time. Pay the bills.
You are listening to Rainier Avenue Radio .world. Don't forget to log on www.rainieravenue.world.
This is the news on Rainier Avenue Radio.
The NBA released its schedule for the second half of the regular season, laying out how it plans to have all 30 teams play 72 games despite the ongoing pandemic. For ESPN, the NBA unveiled only its first half schedule in early December, allowing it flexibility to adjust as the pandemic inevitably wreaked havoc on its attempts to play games outside of the safe confines of a bubble like the one the league finished last season in. To try to make things as fair as possible, each team was scheduled to play either 37 or 38 games across the 73 days that first half schedule was set to run. Due to the pandemic, however, and the ongoing issues it has caused some teams, there is no such equity in the second half schedule.
And that's your news on Rainier Avenue Radio.
What up, y'all? Check out the show. Check out the big show. I'm talking about the Traffic Jam Drive Time Radio, Dirty Harry Radio. Of course, Rainier Avenue Radio, Traffic Jam 4 to 6. If I could say it in multiple languages, I would, but I only know one. I'm not going to fake the funk. In the studio with my guy,
Kareem the Dream, the executive producer for Rainier Avenue Radio.
And all the females, all the beautiful women out there are telling me he really is a dream. And I'll say, you know what? That's all I needed to hear. too much information with Dirty Harry. All right, check out the show Monday through Friday, 4 to 6 on Rainier Avenue Radio. Contest, in-studio interviews, play-by-plays. We give you the ingredients. We're your chefs in the kitchen. Let's go. Cream the dream. Dirty Harry, Rainier Avenue Radio. Come on.
March is Women's History Month, and this year's theme is The Valiant Women of the Vote Refusing to be Silenced. It pays homage to the 100th anniversary of the ratification of the 19th Amendment, which gave women the right to vote here in the United States. Please stay tuned to Rainier Avenue Radio.world for shows and special programs highlighting and dedicated to honoring women on Women's History Month here. Please check us out at www.rainieravenueradio.world.
Would you like to see when your favorite Rainier Avenue Radio show comes on? Check out our shows weekly at rainieravenueradio.world.
I gotta let my fam play. That's my little niece or Niso. What do they say? God rest her soul. I was thinking about her today when I was working out. Couple of steps, two top-selling international albums. I mean, she passed away, but when she was alive, amazing. Have you heard the whole album, or you just kind of hear the snippets here? Lars Hanson, the Dawg Report.
I don't think I've heard the full album, but I've definitely heard a lot of the snippets.
Yeah, but we got to get you to listen to all of that. She's. Sure. I told you, Mazvita Maraire, we're back on Seattle Sports Weekly. We did the halftime show. We went to the locker room and kind of redrew the plays, and the scripted ones are out. This one wasn't working. That one was. So now we got a pretty good game plan.
Oh, yeah.
To finish the UW last night against Colorado. You know what I mean? Just to go ahead.
Oh, yeah.
So with that, but on Torniso, she's got. I don't know whether I should say. My nephew's all like, Tendai. He's got 4 big hits, and Dre's. We've had him on the show. He's doing his thing. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And, who else do I have? Z is there. Z International. They're all doing musical stuff, and then we have a whole other side that's on the neurosurgeon, doctors, and all of that stuff. So, and here I am just hosting a little Seattle Sports Weekly. But you know what? We're having fun, and that's all that matters.
Exactly.
And speaking of fun, thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much. But speaking of fun, dude's been back there since 12:20, get ready to go, doing his notes, and he didn't wait till the halftime show, right? After the first quarter, he's scripting the plays already. You know what I mean? That guy. Who are we talking about, man? We're talking about Evarist Akujobi. He is back for our Beyond the Arc segment. Evarist, come on with it, Akujobi.
What's going on, everybody? Glad to see y'all. We back again.
Back again.
Lars, why are you outside, brother? You always somewhere extra.
I'm okay. That's very true. I'm very.
You like in your car? You outside? You in the closet? I mean, what? You on the top of the Space Needle? What you doing, bro?
I wish. Actually, the Space Needle, that might be a move. I might have to do that next time. That might be the next location, and then I'll pull up from Husky Stadium one other day.
Hey, Everest, who was at the Space Needle yesterday? Just so you know, segue into the basketball. Do you know that's where the Storm were? They're on top. They got
I saw that new logo, rebranding, got the new color scheme. The new. I like the new colors. I like that. The new colors. I like the whole thing. That's why I mentioned the Space Needle, because I knew we were going to talk about that.
You see what he did there?
I love it.
When you have a national correspondent, you know what I'm saying? They just have it already and set it up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'll tell you, it's much easier having you on the show than your man over there that's in the closet that we got to get.
Yeah. So yeah, I saw the news with the new rebranding with the Seattle Storm. First time in 20 years. It was long overdue. As a lot of people in Seattle have mentioned. You guys are in Seattle. You guys know that. So I thought it was really cool to see them on top of the Space Needle, taking a bunch of pictures, videos, and it's showing the whole world that, you know, it's not just a logo. It's actually a lifestyle and a brand with the city. So the new colors are great. The new logo is awesome. I like how they incorporated Mount Rainier on the top part of the logo as well. The little lightning bolt, you know, with the storm. I thought that was pretty clever. So cool logo. I like the way they did that.
It's a good thing you didn't look at the logo or kind of look into it. Very well done. There it is. I'll tell you what, though. Okay, we got, you know, Seattle Sue Bird is coming back for the 20th. But you know what? You over there on the other coast, we got the big event coming on. Why should I be interested in the NBA All-Star game, bro? Why?
Well, everybody knows the NBA All-Star Weekend is usually a spectacle. The dunk contest, the parties, the big, you know, the big lights, camera, action. But I think this year the NBA have done a great job of focusing all the attention towards a great cause, which is bringing more awareness to historically Black colleges and universities. The new court that was just unveiled a few moments ago pays homage to a lot of the HBCUs around the country. You know, they don't get as much shine as the big Power 5 schools or the Power 5 conferences. So it's really cool that Chris Paul and the Players Association partnered up with a lot of HBCUs. If you haven't checked Florida A&M's social media page, LeBron James partnered up with them to do a special colorway. A lot of guys are going to be bringing awareness to the HBCUs. It's going to be really big for the NBA and the culture.
And tonight is the All-Star draft. Is that correct?
That's correct. Got the All-Star draft, and I like the new form. I like the format. You know, this year, even though it's COVID, you know, everything is going to be done on one day. You know, the skill challenge will be done before the All-Star game. The 3-point contest will be done before the All-Star game. The slam dunk contest only has 3 participants. Will be done at halftime. You know, again, this is a new way to tweak the All-Star weekend. You know, to keep things moving. You know, last year we implemented some new rules with scoring at the end of the game. So the NBA is trying to keep things new and fresh because a lot of years, you know, the All-Star weekend was kind of boring. Now they're trying to reinvent themselves and keep it new and fresh. And I like it.
All right. I'm going to throw a curveball. First of all, Lars, please try to read your emails and get the memo about wearing red on the show.
First of all, get the memo about being inside. Like get your own studio set up. Get you a ring light or something.
That's a good
Evarist, you know what? In all fairness, we got him on the show. He's our guy, so that's all.
Lars is cool. I love Lars, man.
All right, yeah, you do. Thank you. So hey, man, here's a curveball. Greg McDermott, Creighton coach.
Yeah. Hey, Greg. I didn't really look up on Greg McDermott, what he got going on. Maybe this might be some breaking news for you to me. You know, what's going on? What's going on with Greg McDermott? Actually, I was having a conversation with a friend the other day about Lil McDermott in the league with the Pacers, you know, getting dunked on by somebody. But, yeah, I haven't really researched what's going on with Greg McDermott. What's going on with him?
Well, you know, here it is. So Greg McDermott is the Creighton basketball coach.
Yeah, Blue Jays.
That's right. And so he said that he needed, in a post-game, in the players, he said, I need everybody to stay on the plantation.
Oh, yeah, I did hear about that. I heard about that. Yeah. I heard about that, but I didn't know which coach said it, to be honest with you. I did hear about that. That's just, you know, a lot of college coaches, you know, me being a college coach and coach for 8 years.
That's right.
There's just certain things that you just can't say, period. So, you know, if he said it out loud, you know, he's thought about this type of players, you know, players of color behind the scenes and his stature as the leader of an organization. You know, with those kind of remarks is just like, hey, you know, I got these Negroes on the plantation playing basketball for me and I'm the master. You know, that's kind of my take on it. And I just think there's no place for that. You know, if coaches can get fired for making racial insensitivity comments like the Coach Casper at Texas State, Coach Chambers lost his job at Penn State. You know, this is the same level and even higher when you invoke the word of plantation. So that's like calling you boy. It's similar. So I really think Creighton, they're gonna have to really make some decisions here, regardless if he's been the coach, for all these years, make it to the Elite Eight, Sweet 16, whatever. We just saw Greg Marshall get handed the door, and his team went to the Final Four. So there's nobody is above reproach, and there's no place for it.
Lars, you're the college analyst. Where anything should happen or not?
I mean, if he hasn't been fired already, that's kind of surprising. In terms of if that, I don't know how long that report has been out there that he said that, but that to me says more about the school than anything. If the school is letting him stay employed after these comments have already been out, that's an institutional problem. Now, that doesn't absolve the coach, right? The coach has still made a heinous comment and Evarist is absolutely right that he's already got those thoughts, whether he's repeating them or not. That's a problem in of itself. Whether the school lets him stay employed is another institutional problem, and I think that's the greater issue.
Yeah. I know. I know that I did read something about him, stepping down. He had to come out with the first move first because there's going to be so much backlash, so much information out there. So much headlines on Creighton University, not just the athletic program, but the institution as a whole. We saw that with Greg Marshall when his comments came out. All these players, started speaking up. Wichita State didn't immediately, fire him. They didn't immediately part ways. It took some time to do the investigation, so to speak. But with Coach McDermott, offering to step down, I think that I know that's the right decision because I know if he got fired, he probably would look bad, worse on him to get fired too as well. So him agreeing to step down is the right choice. Now I think moving forward in the future, I don't think that he should be able to coach in the future, in my opinion. Because if I don't know how old he is. He's probably 50-some years old. Again, if he's regurgitating these comments at a public forum, he's probably lived that with that mentality his whole life. So I don't. Sometimes people say they're first offenders, but in this situation, when it comes to race and that kind of thought process, I don't think you should get a second chance, in my opinion.
Yeah, a couple different things we can kind of take a look at what you said, but he offered to resign, and it's not that. To Lars' point, he's still on the job right now, according to ESPN, this very moment. So that's one in terms of, I'll offer to resign, and something to be said about black coaches get fired, white coaches resign, right, in terms of that. And, I think when we can take a look at this, for me, what's interesting, we all get the institution, the university, and what they should do. What I look at is the reporting that comes with the story as well, right? That's there is no doubt, the public institution. But when you look at the stories that are being written, who are they holding accountable? So let's, something to behold there. And Lars, you and I can talk about that later because I want to get back to Evarist, who's here to talk about just basketball up and down the highway, as we like to do, and throw them curveballs. The Atlanta Dream, brother. I have a dream.
Yeah. And so how many times have we spoke on the Atlanta Dream? I come on this show. Usually we talk about the bag. Usually talking about the Atlanta Dream. Those are like our two main. Those are our two main things. But congratulations to Renee Montgomery to be the first WNBA player, former WNBA player, now owner of a team. Congrats to her and her group for taking that ownership step, away from Kelly Loeffler. I think it's a great day for the WNBA all the way around. A lot of great WNBA news coming out this week. For them to keep moving the needle forward, keep showing that women can be owners, be players, and progress forward. So congratulations to Renee Montgomery and her group for getting that ownership stake at Atlanta Dream.
What's happening? What's the word on the street in terms of now I know you ain't gonna give us any breaking news. Last week you had us all I'm
glad I did because that news didn't happen. So look, I would have now here, the news didn't happen. So hey, same thing, same zip lips this week, until it happens, it happens. I don't want to be the first one to let it out the bag. But there's still a lot of time left in the college basketball season here.
And thank you for that, because that's why you're part of the team, because we're about integrity, right? Anybody can go down the street and and make up something and bait click and all that. That's not what we're about. And that's why we have an expert like you who waits for the story and does the homework, and then when it's ready to be told, says that. So what are the buzz are you hearing going into the NBA kind of, it's like you talked about, its annual break that's it's gonna be a day, but what else is there? What are you hearing? Because you're the man on the street.
Yeah, the big news right now at the NBA is the two-way contracts being granted to past 50 games for guys, and now those players can play in the playoffs. What that means for teams, specifically a team like the Golden State Warriors, that has Juan Toscano-Anderson playing a multitude of roles from the small forward to the power forward to the center, that these players can now play in the playoffs, but previous years they could not. So this is a great day for great week for that news coming out with two-way contracts going past 50 games. A lot of teams are really excited about this news because what happens is you would have to either waive or cut a player to keep a two-way guy on your roster for the playoffs. So,
Evarist, what do you mean a two-way guy, right? Because I thought it was you signed a 10-day contract. What do you mean by that?
Yeah, so a two-way contract in the NBA is where when your player, for example, let's just take Nico Mannion for the Golden State Warriors, a guy that you would know, Lars, in Pac-12. He got drafted by the Golden State Warriors in the second round. Second round, usually guys are non-guaranteed contracts. So what happens is Nico was assigned to their G League affiliate, the Santa Cruz Warriors. So he's not getting, but he has 50 games to play up with the Golden State Warriors, with the mother team at a minimum salary contract. Previous years, you only get those 50 days. But now the news is that the players can stay past those 50 games, 50 days, and now play in the playoffs where the previous years they couldn't. So teams that are written with, especially the reason why they changed this rule is, a lot of players out with COVID. They have to go to the G League, get a lot of players. So the NBA and the Players Association just said, we're going to make this official, have the two-way guys stay up with the mother team longer, and also give them opportunity to play in the playoffs without having to waive a guy on the roster. That was another caveat. They'd have to waive a guy on the roster as well.
Evarist, after the 50 days, if that player stays with the major league teams, kind of like baseball, do they get a salary? Do they get an extra bag? Or
yeah. So the teams, again, like let's say Nico Mannion situation, if he was up past the 50 days, the team would have to make a decision to either cut bait with him and have him just stay in the G League, or they have to cut a guy off the 15-man roster. In the Golden State Warriors case, a guy like Brad Wanamaker or Jordan Poole, one of these guys, towards the end of the rotation. But now the teams don't have to do that. With the two-way guys, every team gets two-way contract players on their team. So now they can have, again, with COVID, guys being in and out with COVID protocols, contact tracing, etc. You need all hands on deck. You need everybody. So now those guys can be looked at as main roster players for the rest of the season and the playoffs.
So this is in your opinion, so this is a win-win for everybody?
Oh, it's a win-win for everybody. Yeah, this is a win-win for everybody. Oh, yeah, for sure. Especially with these COVID times where, guys are out. We saw a couple of days ago, Toronto Raptors, the whole coaching staff was out with COVID contact tracing. Kyle Lowry had to almost coach the team. They had to bring the G League coaches up to coach the team. This COVID thing is just, it's so uncertain on a day-to-day basis. And NBA teams need as many players as they can. So they're going to the G League, making these two-way guys have the ability to stay longer. It just makes a lot of sense. This is something I feel like they should have already did this before, but this is a great rule to have in place moving forward.
Yeah, and I think at this point, if you're the NBA and the NFL, you know what? You should have this COVID thing kind of you got all the resources. Hey, speaking of coaches and women's, how's our favorite coach, Special Jennings?
Oh, man, she's doing great. I spoke to her a few days ago. Just finished up her regular season. They were ranked number 1 in the nation for 13 weeks. They had lost in the Independent Nationals They're going to finish in the top 10, both in ESPN, insider exposure, rivals, all this stuff. So it's great first year for her in the program. Obviously, two Seattle natives on her team. One going to Furman next year. Miracle, as you know, is going to be one of our main rotation players next year. So they're probably most likely going to be number one in the country again next year.
All right. No, some of you, she was on the Metro Sports Weekly, and so we're gonna get her back. Her and the co-host are Pat McCarthy. We're looking at actually scheduling a game, so we'll see. Hey, we were gonna let you go, but we're gonna stop. Want to have you stay just because. And so, in terms of Lars. The Pac-12 tournament, and then Evarist jump in, but I'll make it quick. Because I'm going to ask about the football schedule, but Pac-12 basketball tournament, quick.
Arizona's they have to win it to get in. Otherwise, the Pac-12 is only going to get 4. And again, not a good year for the conference, but it is what it is. There's no other way of putting it.
I'm just thinking about, hey, on the Pac-12 news I know is what they're going to do with Sean Miller at Arizona. that's the Pac-12 news I want to talk about. I'm all about the word on the street. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, I think Sean should stay, but Arizona's going to have a hard time, one, making that spin PR-wise, and two, depends on what the NCAA does. But the NCAA is being slow as always. So if they wait it out, Sean could just stay for another year anyways.
Why should he stay?
Well, if the NCAA doesn't do anything and he's winning and he's one of the top coaches in the conference, are you really going to get rid of that coach? I mean, they can get rid of Kevin Sumlin in football because he sucks.
You just went the whole thing about winning is more important.
I don't think he should stay. To be honest, I think his time has come. He's been proven. It's fact that he is not a ethical coach. I'm not a fan of Sean Miller. Some of his former assistants have had to take the fall for him. So again, I think it's just time to move on, get some new blood in there. I hope they give Damon Stoudemire a chance to get that head coaching job. He's done an awesome job at Pacific. Just recently named Coach of the Year, former alumni there at Arizona. So I think it's just time to move on from Sean Miller.
Yeah, let me add really quick. If they can get a guy like Damon Stoudemire, that would be a fantastic replacement. I think just the thing is, if you're going to get rid of a coach like Sean Miller, who's toxic but a very good coach, you need to make sure you have another good one coming in, and Damon's a great one.
Yeah.
Well, I think if we're talking about it can't be a double standard. We can't talk about the Creighton coach and talk about values and everything else. Then on this half of the segment, we're talking about, well, he can stay there and be a jerk until we get somebody that can continue to win. The only reason, and we got to wrap up here, and I'll throw to you guys for passing thoughts. The only reason why I think that the University Athletic Department should let him go is the fact that they did this cheap, self-imposed postseason ban. That's, to me, as soon as that happened, you should have said, no postseason ban. You're banned from our kids. Bye. Bye, Felicia. All right. Passing comments. Everett, we got a minute or so. You all got about 20 seconds. What you got for us as we go around?
Look, I'm just glad that we got a chance to chop it up again. Got the news and notes. WNBA on the rise. All-Star Weekend. NBA coming out of the last 37 games down the push. We're going to see how the play-in game looks. A lot of teams vying for that last playoff spot, so it should be fun.
All right. Lars?
Baby boy is killing it this year, and you love to see that for somebody in the 206.
All right, so we'll continue with that. Evarist, I mean, he is part of the show, so he'll be back. If not next week, the following week. Hang on to your bags, like Marshawn said. Take care of your chickens. So we say take care of your bag. All up in your bag, right? So with that, I'm Mazvita Maraire, Evarist Akujobi. That is Beyond the Arc. He is a national correspondent. Pleasure for you to spend time with us. Lars, can't do the show without you. The Dawg Report. D-Money, thank you for behind the scenes. I'm Mazvita Maraire, Seattle Sports Weekly. We out.
Yes, sir.
Here with the Rainier Avenue Radio traffic.